Hi folks, Tony Pike with Ancient Wisdom Survival School. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about friction fires. One that I really like to do and use when I'm out in the bush. It takes a little bit more time to make the kit, but it's well worth it in the long run because if you don't take the time to prepare right and get all the right materials, you'll find that right before you get a fire and your arms are wore out, your materials, like time your string or some other piece of your equipment will wear out and you'll be too tired possibly to build the fire after that. So I like to use the Egyptian bow drill. Basically with the Egyptian bow drill, you take a spindle and you drill a hole in it. Now I know finding a way to get a hole in a spindle may be a little bit of an issue when you're out in the woods, but it's worth trying to figure that out. If you can find a bone or maybe if you got a pointy knife, you can get that done. Another part of the kit would be the bow, and of course you'll need a string. Now you can make, this is a fishing line, but you can make a string out in the woods from a yucca plant or nettle. The yucca is a very valuable plant when you're dealing with fire building, friction fires. These are the leaves off of it. And the flower stalk makes a great spindle for friction fires. You can also build the fireboard out of the yucca flower stalk. This fireboard's made out of cottonwood. Your softer, less dense woods, kind of the pithy, really dried out woods typically work best with your friction fires. You'll want your fireboard to be a little bit harder wood than your spindle. Typically they can be the same wood. A basic component of building a friction fire is having the notch just right. You notice you have to have a place for the superheated dust to fall out and collect out of the hole that you're drilling. And I'll get a little bit better shot of that here in just a minute. Another option for building a friction fire is the mullen plant. I know this isn't a very good example of it because it's winter time here in Missouri and the leaves have already dried off. But this has a big green leafy, it's called Indian toilet paper or also known as cowboy toilet paper. And it's one of the best options for that when you're out in the woods, but it also has a lot of good qualities to it. Mullen is a great expectorant. If your chest is congested, you can make a tea or breathe the smoke off of the mullen leaves and it will immediately make your nose run, your eyes water, and it'll clear you up. My great-grandmother actually was a healer back in the frontier days, and she reportedly saved a baby's life using this technique. She put a blanket over her and the baby's head and burnt a leaf of this. The baby's father had rode all day through a blizzard with this baby on his horse to bring it to my great-grandmother, and he took the baby home the next day. That's how effective this medicine is. Notice the mullen plant spelled M-U-L-L-E-I-N. M-U is also how the medicine, modern medicine, Mucinex, which is an expectorant, is spelled. So, and it's pretty much the same chemical compound in there, same drug that does the same effect. But today we're going to be using the mullen leaves for tinder. When they're dried out like this, they make really good tinder. Or you can burn them for incense. They smell really nice. But I'm going to use the yucca spindle and the cottonwood board. Now I need a capstone to push down on the top of the spindle. And there's a few different options you can use out in the, if you're out in the wilderness, you can find a clamshell. That works for the top. You'll hold it like this. Or you can possibly find a stone that has a divot in it. That works. If you have to, and you have a knife or a sharp rock, you can cut a divot in a piece of wood. I think that's cottonwood also. The other component that you'll need, and not everybody does it this way, but I like to put something underneath my fireboard to catch the superheated dust, so that I can make take the ember to the bird's nest, which I'm getting ready to talk about. Your bird's nest, you can just find a bird's nest that had fallen out of a tree, or maybe one's up in a tree. Sometimes they're even drier. This is one I found yesterday. It's been raining here, but I think that this one's dried out enough that I can utilize it. It's just some kind of coarse grasses. Not necessarily my #1 choice for a bird's nest, but it'll play a role in this. There's a place for the coarser grass. I'm going to build my bird's nest out of this. This is cedar bark, and it's real papery, really dried out well. And I'm just going to take I don't need all of this, so I'll separate it out a little bit like that. And put these together, and what you want to do, you want to cup it just a little bit like that, so it actually looks like a bird's nest. And you see I took those coarser grass, that regular bird's nest, and I put it underneath there. And now you want to get some of your finer tinder. Oh, while I'm talking about it, this cedar bark also has some cedar sap on it, which once it starts burning, it'll burn really hot, and it'll make getting this fire going a lot easier. For the other component of the bird's nest, you're going to want to find the fluffiest, dry, finest tinder you can get. This is very hair-like. This fluff comes off of, I believe it's the Russian thistle, or sow thistle, some people call it. And you'll find different places like this where you can find this type of an item. You can see some of the little fine ones blowing off. Basically, you're going to look for the finest little tinder that you can get. Another good place to find that would be cattails. These are tops off of cattails, and you can, this fluff works excellent for this process also. I've used dandelion tops if you're in that season of the year where you can find them. But the finest, paperiest type of items is what you're going to be looking for your friction fire. Now what I'm going to do, I've got the hole created here. I want to break this up and spread it out so that air can travel in and all around the glowing ember after I drop it in here. If you're doing a flint and steel fire, if you can find, if you're out traveling and you come across some of this, stick it in your bag. Because if you're doing flint and steel or any kind of a fire, if you get a hold of some of this cattail fluff or some of this Russian thistle, if you hit a spark into that, it will just go up like gasoline. It really makes your life easier out in the woods if you have some of it. So part of survival is knowing what resources to be gathering as you're out traveling. Okay, I'm going to get set up here and get an ember dropped into here, and we're going to show you how to build a fire here in just a second. Nice thing about the Egyptian bow drill, you have the hole through the spindle. You can run your string through there. It gives you the opportunity to wrap the spindle a few times. This one's wrapped about 4 times, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. That gives the string a little better grip on the spindle. As you're drilling, your string will get hot and it'll stretch and it'll start to slip on your spindle in the normal bow drill setup. The Egyptian bow drill helps prevent that from happening. While you're doing the bow drill, whether you're doing a regular bow drill or Egyptian bow drill, you try to not let the string rub against itself. And that may not make much sense to you, but once you start going, you'll see what I'm talking about. You can hold the bow at an angle, and that'll help prevent that string from rubbing on itself. If you hold it up like that, it's less likely to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Notice I got the little piece of wood underneath my fireboard to catch the ember. I'm going to use this piece of wood for the capstone. And you just start drilling. You may have to make a few fine adjustments. You just kind of take it easy to get started. What we're doing is building up some friction, some heat, and building up some dust. You're going to have some dust for the ember to actually, that's what's going to be on fire, is the actual dust that's wearing off of the drill and the fireboard right now. And it's falling out that notch that I showed you. You just go for a while and then speed up and push down a little harder. And I don't know if you can see or not, but I got smoke. When you get smoke, you don't want to stop yet. Really, while it's smoking, to be on the safe side, you want to go as long as you can until your arm wears out, just to make sure you have a good ember. And there's my ember. Once you get the ember, you don't have to get in a rush. It'll actually grow if you have enough of that superheated dust. So you got like probably 5 minutes. I want to carefully not smother it. I'm going to fan it just a little bit. And if I need to get a little bit of kindling or whatever ready right now, I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and take this to my bird's nest. See if I can get it in there without smothering it. Okay, I've got it in my thistle. I'm going to very gently wrap that thistle around it and just barely, not really squeeze it, but form the nest up around it. Now I can start blowing into it. You don't want to breathe the smoke, you can swing it and the air will flow through the nest if your nest is loose enough, and that'll get some air into it. And this is going to take off here in just a second. I probably could have used a little bit more thistle in there. Voila, friction fire. That's the Egyptian bow drill method. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so.